You're listening to Radio Cosmos.
All night long.
Bravo! My compliments, little lady.
Commercial!
Break for 30 seconds. Get to transmission.
You are now listening to BaaD Radio.
Hello and welcome to BaaD Radio. BaaD stands for Business at a Distance. This is a show about local businesses and business networking. We are here in the News Radio WFLA Orlando studios from 11 a.m. to noon every Sunday, and I am your host. And joining me in the hosting with BaaD Radio, please welcome Chelsea Welsh with Florida Energy, Water and Air.
Me.
All right, so how things are going over there?
It's going great. We just came off of an amazing home show and just teaching people about the importance of clean water and really how much it impacts your life and the importance of how do you, get the system. And we had people from every walk of life, kids and families, just asking a ton of good questions about how does this impact me and what can I do to make sure that my home has the best water. And so it's been a great couple of weeks talking about, all the things and getting healthy for the new year.
So it was a home show? Was it like the Orlando home show that they
had?
How was
the
crowd?
I was surprised. I was there most of the weekend, and usually it's so busy, but it was busy in the beginning and it kind of slowed down a little bit. So it gave you more time to have those relevant conversations.
Well, that's actually a good thing.
It is a good thing.
And
for us, it's about how can we educate? How can we make sure they understand the importance and really looking at our system, the rain stuff system in a unique way and how it's really helping lives and making us all happier. Like I mentioned on the last show, for us, it's making sure that they understand the why behind what we do.
Okay. Well, just real quick, give everybody your contact information or how to get in touch if they wanted to get, it's like a free, somebody comes in and tests the water.
They do. It's a complimentary water test, and then it allows us to come in and actually physically test your water and give you the results right there on the spot. And it's fun for kids because it allows them to think it's like a science project, right? We're testing the water to educate them on why they need a whole home water treatment solution for their home. So for us, it's myfewa.com. So myfewa.com. We love the opportunity to come out. It's complimentary, and we want to really service our community.
Well, awesome. Thank you for that. Okay.
Of course.
And so, you know what? Before we jump into the show, I want to give a huge shout out to one of our sponsors. Thank you very much to Forge IT Consulting, providing a fully outsourced IT department with a personal touch for small business. ForgeITConsulting.com. All right, so that leads me to our guest, who actually is getting ready to marry the gentleman from Forge IT Consulting, John Kennedy. John Kennedy and Forge has been sponsoring the shows pretty much since the beginning, and Elyse came into his life, I guess, about 2 years ago. Is it?
It's about a year and a few months, a year and a half.
That's amazing.
Well, I know. They're so cute, too. So please welcome Elyse Salley, and her company is Serenity Family Solutions.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So Elyse was on the show once part-time, I guess you could say, because you were on with John, and so we kind of got to share half of the show with you and half the show with John. And so today we get to talk all about Serenity Family Solutions. And so first and foremost, can you go ahead and just give the audience an idea of what your business is?
Absolutely. So it's Serenity Family Solutions. We're based in Lake Mary, but we serve all of Florida because we can do almost all of our services online at this point.
That's amazing.
We try to help families stay out of the court system when they're experiencing family changes like divorce, paternity. So paternity is when they have children together, but they're not legally married, and then they split up. The courts look at that very similar to divorce. And then also modifying any existing family court orders, like if they're changing a parenting plan or if they need to change child support, just something that they need to adjust or update. So whenever possible, we try to keep them out of the court system and try to keep them from experiencing that adversarial system because it's a lot faster, it's healthier as far as emotionally, financially, and it's just, to me, I think it's better all around. It's not something that can help every single family. There are certain circumstances where it's not appropriate, but for most of them, it totally is.
Right.
That's great.
So in that situation, when people file for divorce, is usually the first step what they do is try to get an attorney?
Yes. So typically, if they don't know, well, actually, I would say people usually hire an attorney first because everyone assumes that that's the first step that you need to take. That's kind of just what we've been doing for decades now.
Well, that's what I always thought too, but I never really knew.
Right. So everyone assumes that attorneys are mandatory in divorce or paternity, and they're not. Attorneys are an option. You can, of course, use them for full representation. You can use them for limited representation. You could do consultations. I mean, you could do consultations with 15 attorneys just to get information that you need to know, and then in order to not use an attorney. So it is something that they can choose to do. But we come into the process even earlier than that. So we're typically getting families when they're first deciding that they need a divorce. Maybe they've been doing marriage counseling and it's just not working. Or they've gotten to the point they're going to split up and they're in their church groups or whatever kind of support system they have. And then they reach out to us. We get a lot of families that come in jointly. So they're both coming in together and they're saying, this is our decision, help us move forward. And we also get it where one person has decided and hasn't told their spouse or their partner yet that they want to make this change. So we're there very, very, very early. And I kind of look at it as a preventative to litigation because we do the entirety of the process. They first do a mediation. This is a 2-hour divorce process. So they do a mediation. They can do as many mediations as they want or as they need.
I hate sounding naive, but mediation is?
Mediation is when the people that are going to be in a court case are coming together to be able to discuss what they want to see out of their court case.
Okay.
So
like their terms.
Yeah. So say that this is a family who has children and they're married. In that mediation, we're going to be creating an entire parenting plan to their specifics and an entire marital settlement agreement. Okay. So we're going to be going over equitable distribution, everything else that we and they can possibly think of, but only what's relevant to them. So instead of just getting like this cookie cutter parenting plan by the court or something that they don't really understand or doesn't work for them, this is totally different. You have more control over the outcome when you do mediation. So that process starts with mediation or multiple mediations. Once they've completed the mediation agreement to their specifics, then we go ahead and we complete the Florida Supreme Court forms that are tailored to their situation. So there are different forms based on what people need. Like there are different types of divorce. There's a simplified dissolution of marriage. There's a dissolution with property, and then there's a dissolution with children. And then, of course, there's paternity, and then there's all types of modifications. And we stay along with them through the entirety of the process until the case is closed. And what's different about this is that we have looked into all the counties that have uncontested procedures in order to waive their hearing, because most of these families don't want anything to do with court. And so they get to choose the county that they file in, and we follow those procedures in order to make it so they just get their final judgment emailed to them.
Wow.
It sounds
technology
like you got
has changed it all. Yeah.
I mean, I've really tried hard. I've gone into every single nook and cranny and seen what people consider to be the issues, and also with my own experience in the court system. And I've tried to create this process so it's as painless as possible, because these changes are painful already. And they don't need more pain and more expense going to having to go through it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I mean, it sounds like you've got it pretty much all put together. So, and this is pretty much for couples that are amicable, right? I mean, the 2-hour is that they're on the same page.
They are usually on the same page for 2-hour divorce. We, of course, will work with other couples who are not. We do court-appointed mediations. And I track the rates on all these. I can't remember if I talked to you about it last time I was here. I haven't done my 2025 data yet, but in 2024, if they mediated pre-suit, which means no one had filed a court case yet, there was a 93% full agreement rate, which is huge.
That's huge.
Right.
And then the court-ordered ones, meaning that they've already been litigating, and then the judge said, you guys have to go to mediation before I will do trial, that drops down to a 25% full agreement rate.
Wow.
So the difference between that is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And I really do think that the system in and of itself kind of creates an adversarial nature, just because getting served and then going back and forth, and you're only speaking with motions. You're not actually communicating.
Right. Well, that's a perfect place to stop, because we're going to go to break. But that was fantastic. So, all right. So everybody stay tuned, because we have more BaaD Radio coming up. Oh, welcome back. And this portion of the show is brought to you by Body Street of Winter Park. Experience EMS Fitness studio where it only takes 20 minutes a week to get a full body workout. Visit bodystreet.us to book your free trial. All right. I'm waiting.
We want to pump you up.
There we go. Perfect. Okay, so if you're just joining the show, I'm Angela Smerito. And to my right is the lovely Chelsea Welsh with Florida Energy, Water, and Air. And our featured guest this week is Elyse Salley with Serenity Family Solutions. So in the first segment of the show, you really went into detail about everything that your business does. And quite honestly, you sort of blew me away a little bit because I always thought that you had, if you're getting a divorce, that you had to go to court. I didn't know that there was an option not to. Mm-hmm. So at what point did you decide that, how did you get into this field and decide to open your own business?
I got into doing this because of going through my own case. And it was a absolutely horrible experience. It was the worst experience of my life, the most traumatic thing I've ever gone through. And it was very contentious, very litigious, meaning that it had a lot of actual litigation in it, where a standard paternity case is about 22 docket items, and ours is in the 430s. Wow. So it's almost unheard of at this point. And bad enough, I know everyone says that, like, I've got the worst case ever. We got our final judgment about a month ago, and there is a clause in the final judgment that says it is the worst case that judge has ever seen.
Wow.
So kind of embarrassing that kind of conduct is something that someone saw of me and of my, I guess, a family unit, you could call it. Mm-hmm. But because of what I went through, I just saw such a need to provide something different. And I don't want any other families or couples to go through what I've gone through.
Well, that's a great reason to start something like that. And the funny thing is divorce is common. I'm not going to say that it's not. Mm-hmm. But sometimes I meet people that when they go through a divorce, it's like this game where they're playing just to hurt each other. Mm-hmm. And I never could understand why. Why, you know what I mean? You're divorced. You do have children or whatever like that, but it's almost like this back and forth. And for the life of me,
Absolutely.
I can't understand. It's just like it's like turning that knife every time something else happens.
It's an emotional thing, and I think as you bring emotions into it, that's what kind of fuels that, right?
Right.
It's got to be tough, and especially if children are involved.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So that's something that we work with too. It's the court-appointed services that we offer are for more of those high-conflict families, and I absolutely was a high-conflict family. And it takes two to be a high-conflict family. Like, even though I did not feel like the person that was initiating a lot of the litigation, I was still then coming in and feeling like I have to respond for myself, and this is unacceptable, and I need to say this. Mm-hmm. I'm not just going to let this thing be said and leave it that way. So I will very much honestly say that I was part of that high conflict situation. So for those families, we have court-appointed services like guardian ad litem, parenting coordination, and supervised visitation. And when I say court-appointed, that means that it is much harder to actually get those services because a judge has to say that you are able to have that service, and you are then ordered to have that service. So even if someone today that's listening needed a guardian ad litem and then they're like, oh, let's get in touch with Serenity Family Solutions, they have to get that ordered, and then they have to get the judge to order me specifically on their case. If they're in a high conflict situation, the judge is usually going to say, if the other person is like, no, we don't need a guardian ad litem, they're going to tell them, each of you give me 2 names, and then the judge decides. So it's a very slow process to get these court-appointed services unless you're already ordered to have them.
And for the listeners that don't know what a guardian ad litem is, walk them through that.
Yeah.
That is an investigative procedure.
Interesting.
And so when I do it, it's either in a divorce or paternity case or some kind of modification of one of those cases. And the judge sees a need for someone like me to go in and actually investigate everything that is going on with the family and what's in the best interest of the child. So I'm following the actual Florida statute for the best interest of the child and going through, and I'm doing interviews with the parents. I'm seeing the parents in person. I'm doing home visits. Sometimes it's surprise home visits if that's something that's needed.
Oh, wow.
But I let people know this is a very invasive process.
Sure.
And if you and your children don't actually need it, it's not something to throw around lightly.
Okay.
Yeah. Parenting coordination is a little lighter. That I consider more of a therapeutic process, and we can work for families for up to 2 years, where we're not really working with the children in that situation. We're working with the co-parents. At that time, they are not together anymore.
Right.
They have typically already finished trial. They usually already have a parenting plan in place, and then we are just helping them to communicate more effectively, seeing if they have any little issues with the parenting plan, because they can change that during that service.
And the parenting plan is simply like you have them 2 weeks and then we have them 2 weeks, or right? I mean,
yep. There's definitely a time sharing component of it. It's also going to be holiday time sharing, different decision making authorities. So you're going to look into, is it shared decision making authority, or does someone maybe have sole decision-making authority for extracurriculars or medical or educational?
Yeah,
so
expenses and stuff like that.
Expenses, yep. You go into child support in parenting plans. So it's definitely very in-depth.
Right. So, I mean, like, how does child support actually get calculated? I mean, how do you guys determine who pays what and how that works?
There are these beautiful calculators that exist. And it's something actually that people can just go Google. Like, you can just go online, find these calculators, and try to see what child support may look like and what it looks like with different numbers put in there. That's what I tell the people that are coming in and they're doing this together, is that the two of you are putting these numbers in. Mm-hmm. If you're going to go through this court process and you're going to be very adversarial, the judge is going to do it for you. And you may not like what comes out at the end. But if you can figure out this calculator and what your expenses are and how it works best for your family, then they have a lot more flexibility.
Right. So it makes it makes it easier for everybody if everybody just gets along and works and plays nice in the sandbox, right?
Yep.
But unfortunately, that's not the way it always works.
It's not.
No.
And it's tough because, when you mentioned you felt like you had to comment, or you had to almost a defense mechanism, right? As a woman, I think that makes it tough too, because, no matter what's being said, you want to react. And sometimes that's that emotion, right? That we're, it's already emotional. It's already frustrating. It's already overwhelming, right? Mm-hmm. So, I can definitely see the benefit of that. I had been through that, the divorce side many years ago, and it resonated with me. Something was said. I'm like, wait a minute, that wasn't the case. You find yourself wanting to comment or to go down a road that really could have been easily taken care of ahead of time if we could have gotten there.
And you have to be careful now, because everything's admissible, like your text, your phone calls, everything. So, but I love the fact that you offer people an opportunity to
skip all of that.
To skip all of that and to come to terms and be nice about it. See, I think that's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
And so tell us, when did you get started in this?
We opened in June 2023.
Okay.
So since then, we now have a team of phone staff. So the people that answer the phones. We have a full-time operations assistant and then 2 other mediators.
Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you. It's very, very exciting. So it's me and 2 other beautiful women who are mediating. They both do weekends and they both do virtual, because we really want to help the people who work full-time and just can't take off in the middle of the day to do mediation.
Right. Well, you mentioned a stat during the break about how many.
Oh, right. Yeah. So in 2025, we kept 45 families out of court. Couples and families. I mean, I say families even if you're not a family anymore, but that's what I mean.
I know. Yeah, exactly. So that's a beautiful thing. And like I said, you save them money, right? Because they don't have to.
I would hope so.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't have to get lawyers. And then they also don't have to go through the traumatic experience of going to court. Mm-hmm. I know that my daughter had to go to court because we were contesting a ticket, and being in there is intimidating.
Yes.
In the courtroom. Sure.
So, especially when you're young.
Cop didn't show up, and
it's scary, and it's, emotions, and you don't know the right thing. Because again, as a regular person, you don't normally go and have to be in a courtroom or in front of those individuals, so you don't know what to say, and it is nerve-wracking, and it's a little overwhelming.
On that note, we're going to go to break again. So everybody stay tuned, because we have more BaaD Radio coming up. Welcome back, and this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Ground Up Property Services. Your sprinkler system has been running all year, but have anyone actually checked on it? Didn't think so. Kick off 2026 right and get your irrigation system serviced by Ground Up Property Services today. And ask Rick Hall about a water sensor too, so your lawn doesn't get too much water. It's actually a good idea to give him a call too right now, because we're about to get a big freeze, and so you might want to. I know there's certain things that you need to do to make sure that your pipes don't get busted with the cold freeze. So call 407-468-4295 or visit groundupinc.net. All right. So if you're just joining us, I'm Angela Smrito, and to my right is my lovely Chelsea Welsh with Florida Energy, Water, and Air. And our featured guest this week is Elyse Salley with Serenity Family Solutions. So we've been having, like I said, a great talk. The segments go by so fast, especially when the conversation is like just flowing. And so those are the kind of shows that when they're done, you feel really good. You're like, okay, that was definitely worthwhile. And I always think about the content. I think about the things that you're saying that can be pulled out and really be promoted to so that your services can be in front of more and more people. Because I think that for you is going to be the biggest hurdle is getting the word out of what you do and how people can contact you and things like that. So what have you done thus far as far as promoting yourself?
As far as getting the word out?
Yeah.
So we're 2 years into this. I talk all the time. I mean, I do things like this all the time. So this morning I was at a sponsorship breakfast for the Christ School Bridge program. And then I was at the Orange County Bar Association luncheon. And then this. So, I mean, my day is filled up with trying to get the word out about this.
That's excellent.
A lot of people don't know that this even exists. And that's what I hear from a lot of our, comments online or things like that, is that they're saying, I wish we had known about this sooner. Like, I can't believe this even exists.
Right. And that happens a lot. I know in all sorts of different fields too, like public adjusting and things like that, where like people are just naive to, we didn't know that there's people that can help us with this in these certain situations. And so are you looking at specific growth? What are some of your plans for this upcoming year? I know we're doing some marketing. So BaaD Marketing is going to be working with Elyse and doing some really new and fun social media content. So that is definitely something that's going to be coming out for this first quarter of the year. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that.
Yes. So, I mean, I really just continue focusing on education, and I notice that as I'm educating that we get a lot more interest and we get more people in, obviously. Sure. So that's what floats the company and enables me to keep helping in the community. So as of this year, I joined the Florida Academy of Professional Mediators Board of Directors. And so hopefully that will be very helpful.
Sure.
And as each year progresses, I'm going to keep tracking data, showing how important it is to do these pre-suit mediations where you start mediating first before you actually open your case. And then hopefully we can change the way our system works in general, where mediation is the first line of defense rather than litigation.
Right.
And that's not appropriate in emergency situations. I feel like I just need to put that out there as like a public announcement.
What do you mean?
So if, let's say that there are drugs in a home, a child is being abused, things of that nature, then you're not going to let's be happy and nice in mediation and talk about this. So I am always sending out risk assessments prior to mediation, and I'm looking for factors of homicide, suicide, domestic violence, and coercive control to see if mediation is appropriate for them.
How do you do that?
I've created a risk assessment. So that's another thing that I'm going to try to do too. So this risk assessment, I would like to standardize it so it can just be something that all mediators in Florida do beforehand. Because I'll hear horror stories of people coming in and saying, we tried mediation before, I was in this terrible relationship, and they just stuck us in the same room, didn't know anything about us, and then, something happened in mediation. And it's not always appropriate. So I need to see, is it okay for them to be in the same room? If not, I'm going to caucus them. Is it okay for them to even be caucused? Because sometimes there has been such a history of coercive control that even being caucused, it won't be effective, because the person that has been the target will just immediately bend to whatever the will of the other person is. So in those cases, I have to say, you need to go through the court system for your safety.
Okay.
So that's another thing I definitely want to work on, is just increasing the standard of all mediators in Florida. and then hopefully at some point changing the system.
Right. And where does the mediation take place?
We do it in the office. I mean, we also have Zoom. So we've done hybrid too, where one person is in the office and one person is on Zoom. If that happens and they want to caucus, which just means that they're separate from each other, then I will have the one person in an office where I am, and then I will have my computer with the other person in the other office.
Okay.
So I make work whatever is most comfortable and safe for them.
Right. What about safe for you, though? I mean, have you ever been in a situation where you did not? I mean, especially if you're doing home visits.
Yes. I mean, that's different. That's only in guardian ad litem cases.
Right.
But so far, fingers crossed, I have not had any issues with mediation. I definitely have had people escalate because it is such an emotional thing to go through. But I have ground rules beforehand about talking with I statements and not cutting each other off, letting the other person finish speaking and keeping kind of cool and chill. And I can separate them if I need to. Mm-hmm. I've had to do that once on Zoom where they were continuing to be like this. I couldn't butt in to say, like, let's get a grip on this.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I've had to mute people. I've had to put them into separate rooms before. Wow. But it's really not that often. Okay. And it's really only in the court-ordered ones, the people that are forced to be there and they've already been fighting.
Gotcha.
I've really never had a situation where they come in first and then they really escalate to something that's unmanageable.
Right.
As you educate and kind of tell more of those stories and kind of help families or just to go through the process, what would your kind of top 3 pieces of advice if someone's going through that today and they're hearing this and they're like, how do I get involved and what do I do? And what would be your guidance for them?
My guidance would be to talk to the other person first. When we have just one person reach out to us and ask, can you tell my significant other or my spouse about this?
Right.
I can if they don't have an open line of communication, but I always fear that person could view it as an attack. Even though I'm coming at them as nice as possible, saying this person would like to try mediating with you. I'm using all the PC language that I absolutely can, but it still can be viewed as an attack.
Right.
Definitely less than being served by a sheriff.
Oh my gosh.
Correct.
But still could be scary. So if you've got that open line of communication and it's safe to talk to the person that you're splitting from, please let that person know beforehand. Mm-hmm. That's a big one.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And you mentioned like church groups and things like that. So do you have a lot of different types of groups that you work with that can refer you?
Not specifically. I just noticed that a lot of people come from that. They've either come from divorce care or they're coming from marriage counseling. So the people that we really work with the most are therapists. That's another thing that I would always recommend is if you're going through something like this to get individual therapy.
Oh, no, not couple therapy? Individual?
If they're already to the point where they're divorcing,
okay,
or if they're going through that process, then definitely individual therapy. I have sent one family back to couples counseling, and I'm not sure. I didn't hear back from them, so I don't actually know what happened with them.
What made you decide to do that? You're like, okay, you guys are not meant to be divorced yet.
It's really not me. It's me listening to them. If they're both saying... they're both saying like this can still work or these are the problems, then I will send them to marriage counseling. I started one mediation where, thank God I have a background in mental health and I was able to do this, but I kept saying like, are you guys ready for me to do my opening statement now? Because they just kept talking and I have to do an opening statement before we start. And then I'd say like, are you guys ready to put any of this on paper yet? And 3 times after them saying no or just continuing to talk, I'm like, okay, let me just change this. So we ended up just doing a counseling session for that mediation.
Right.
And they didn't do any kind of mediation agreement yet.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's always different. I am not there to push one way or the other at all.
And I can see that that's your personality type too. You can be very neutral. But but what I like is that you also can be very commanding in that same sense and that you have the ability to control the room.
I mean... if it needs to be done, I definitely can advocate.
Oh, dang. It's already time to go to break again. All right, guys. We're going to break again. And when we get back, we'll have more BaaD Radio, so please stay tuned. Welcome back, and this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Frogger's Grill and Bar. Looking to hang with your crew or make some new friends this year? Then you need to hop on over to Frogger's Grill and Bar. With 4 great locations, there is bound to be one near you. Oviedo, Mount Dora, Apopka, and Altamont Springs. And the menu, everything is fresh, never frozen, always delicious. Check out Froggers.com for more information. Frogger's Grill and Bar. Hop in with food and fun.
Yeah, boy.
That's right. And Froggers is getting ramped up for their big game day or big game or whatever the things you're not allowed to say Super Bowl or something like that. I'm saying it because who cares what I say about it. But anyway, they do a great thing at Froggers where each location has like wings for a year, TVs, like we get a whole bunch of different prizes, and it's just, even if you're not even really into football, or your team's not there or anything like that, it's still fun to go and have fun and win prizes and stuff like that. So, and if you're just joining us, I am Angela Smarito, and we have Chelsea Welsh with Florida Energy Water and Air, as well as our featured guest, Elyse Salley with Serenity Family Solutions. So the show is definitely flying by, and that always means that it's a really, really good show. So during break, we always talk a little bit about, things that we want to talk about. So Chelsea actually brought up talking about your background in mental health. So tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. I will just tell you my whole journey because that's more of a fun story than just listing off my credentials.
Okay. I love stories.
So, yeah, lifelong student here since 2010, I guess 2006 at this point. And I say that now because I'm in school still, and every semester, they want you to introduce yourself. And now I'm like, I'm the old student. So in 2010, I got a bachelor's in psychology and a minor in statistics.
Wow.
Then
That's random.
I really like statistics. I was going to double major in it, but they said it would be another 2 years. And I was like, no, I need to graduate and move on, you know. And then after that, I did for a little bit an environmental political science master's.
Okay.
Really loved the environmental component, didn't really like the political component. So I transitioned to the school counseling master's.
Okay.
And that one I just felt like it was a lot of basic information and that I was spending a lot on that. So it just wasn't a good fit for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I worked for a couple years as a psychosocial rehabilitation specialist. And during that time, I found out about behavior analysis. So that was when I went back. I got the graduate certificate in that, and then I got the master's in that. So the master's is both exceptional education and behavior analysis.
Wow.
I then got the board certification and licensure for that. During that time, I started a doctorate in curriculum and instruction. This, I guess, would have been in 2016 because it was like 2 weeks into the program when I found out I was pregnant with my first child. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking there's no way I can start a 5-year program when I'm pregnant and about to have a baby.
Right.
So that one I took a break from. I had kids. And then more recently, I started a PhD in, what is it even called?
It's okay.
I can't remember what it is right now, but it was something. It was a PhD in something to do with mediation and things like that. So it was conflict analysis and resolution.
Wow.
And but so I am on this warpath to be able to provide social investigations, and Florida statute does not recognize my licensure as a behavior analyst as someone who's able to do those. I figured it would be faster to get a second licensure than to fight with the law on that. Right. So now I switched from that PhD to a master's in social work. So I'm almost done with this finally. I think I have 2 semesters left, and then I'll do the licensure hours, and then I'll be able to add the social investigations to our list.
Awesome.
So, and then going forward from then, my kids are young, so they need me and I want to be around them. But when they don't want to be around me anymore, then I'm going to do the PhD in neuropsychology, because my end goal is that I would love to see actual brain studies of litigants and maybe even attorneys and judges of what's happening in litigation versus what's happening in mediation or some other court-free process, to show this is actually happening to your brain and body and this is not healthy.
Wow.
So I think that when we have actual data on that, then it will really help change the system. I don't think it's really going to happen until then, because there aren't studies on it, at least that I know of.
That's fascinating.
It is.
Elyse.
Oh my gosh. Perspective, which was your earlier passion kind of ties into all of that.
Absolutely. I wanted to do neuropsychology from the start. In my bachelor's, I did as many neuro classes as I could. There just weren't a ton of them.
Yeah,
and then I
not.
would have had to have moved somewhere else to pursue that program. And I just didn't.
Yeah.
I've just been in Central Florida always. In
Right.
So I
Seminole
love
County.
that you're an ever learner.
Right.
I mean, there's so much to learn, and there's so many things that
Yeah.
brings a different element for you
Mhm.
and your practice versus what's going on out there in the world.
And it's
Yeah,
your
yeah.
curiosity. You're very curious. You want to know.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
what's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I have like all these other certifications on top of it. Smaller
Mhm.
things like I'm a Florida Supreme Court family mediator and parenting coordination. I'm qualified in the circuits that I work in. I've done collaborative divorce trainings. So I'm always doing trainings and always looking at new things. I did an arbitration training, but I don't really think that's my thing.
No.
But yeah, I still like to dabble in a little bit of
Sure.
everything.
You never know if it's something that you have a true passion for unless you actually learn the
Right.
details.
Right. Or see how it can actually help, because that was the problem with the conflict analysis and resolution PhD, is that it would not allow me to then still do social investigations. It wouldn't give me another licensure that was something that the state agreed
Would
with.
recognize or whatever. Wow.
Right. Yep.
So you mentioned also something about your services. It's not either or with attorneys, right?
Correct.
So
Yes.
so you work. Let's go ahead and just walk us through that as well.
All of our services are compatible with attorneys. I know that coming into this and we're saying like, ooh, it's court free and this is something that you can do without an attorney. You can still do it with an attorney too. I mean, I did a mediation once where they had 5 attorneys in the mediation. It was
Why?
really hard to get through that one, but it's something that can happen. And so I'm telling people when we're doing consultations, if they start to ask legal questions, I say, I am not an attorney. I'm a mediator. Even if I were an attorney, as your mediator, I couldn't give you legal advice because I'm a neutral. And legal advice in and of itself is not neutral. It is for one person or the other. So that's kind of where we run into an issue, is if they want to do this entire thing jointly, they can meet with an attorney, but they can't get specific legal advice to them because the attorney is only allowed to give that to one person.
Right.
So
I
it's
don't
something
know.
where sometimes
Yeah.
we definitely get attorneys in mediation, or we have attorneys look over mediation agreements. And then, of course, most of our court-appointed services, there are attorneys because those are the ones that know that the service exists and have helped push it for their clients.
Right. I just
So-
like, the thing with attorneys is, don't get me wrong. We've had lots of attorneys on, and I feel that I don't want to say poke the bear, but you know what I mean? If somebody hires an attorney, they're going to be doing everything that's in the best scenario for their client, right? And so sometimes they can actually create conflict when they're, when the client was kind of like, well, I'm okay with that.
Yes.
And they're like, well,
Yep.
no, you need to get this and this and this. And then, so sometimes I feel like it's like adding fire, you know what I mean? Fuel to the fire. And I don't know. That's my own personal opinion on it. So, because
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen that. I've experienced that in one mediation where I had to caucus the attorneys because every time I was asking a question to the client, the attorney would answer. And even if I would say the client's name and then ask the question again, the attorney would answer. So I actually separated the 2 attorneys in a different Zoom room to be able to talk to the clients.
wow.
Yeah.
What did they
So
think about that?
the attorneys, I think that they're okay with it as soon as it happened. But
Yeah, they realized.
some people don't like that because they are used to what they're used to. They're used to these court-ordered mediations where you get into it, you immediately caucus, no one talks to each other.
Okay.
And that's not how we do it. We do joint mediations for as long as possible, and most people really like it that way. They always have the right to caucus, which means to be separate. And I tell them that up front as part of my opening statement. But I do tell them, as long as you're comfortable and you think that it's okay to do so, it is faster to do joint and it's more effective.
When you say more effective, it means like you're able to come to a solution faster.
Yes, because you're actually hearing that other person speak on the spot rather than me having to jump back and forth, kind of like playing telephone.
Oh,
And then, of course,
yeah.
when I'm doing that, they have the option to have confidentiality within their caucused space. So I'm having to ask, is there anything that I can't share in the other room? And so it just slows it down, and it's not as authentic as talking directly to the person.
Makes sense
Yeah.
for sure.
So I hear music. Does that mean the show's coming to the end? Oh, you didn't put the timer on. So all right. Well, thank you, Elyse. And thank you very much for being here. I'm not sure. I don't know what the time is, so I guess I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. We'll put all of their contact information when we post the show. So, you guys, thanks for tuning in today, and have a great week. And remember to support local.